Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are looking at the pinnacle of the Japanese gunboat destroyer line, the Harugumo. Now, this ship didn't exist, which is not uncommon at Tier 10, but she was effectively based on the Akizuki class of carrier escort destroyers. And originally these ships weren't even meant to have torpedoes. They were meant to be pure sort of gun AA platforms, but late in the design phase, the Japanese Navy insisted on actually sticking some torpedoes onto them. And some of these were built from the Akizukis, but the Harugumo itself did not exist. What happened here, given that there wasn't actually a destroyer design at the time, a late war destroyer design that actually was there, Wargaming invented one by taking an Akizuki or a super Akizuki and sticking another turret onto it to effectively gently progress the ship further towards something that you could put in Tier 10. And that's what we have around here. So, before we look at the stats, let's look back a little bit. So let's start at Tier 8 with the Akizuki. Akizuki, great ship. I really enjoyed this ship at Tier 8. Very dangerous little boat, great gunfire, great HE spammer. The Kitakaze at Tier 9, and you can see that here, right? These are effectively completely identical hull designs. The Kitakaze is just a super Akizuki with a slightly modified later design of the later series. And for all intents and purposes, is just a slightly boosted Akizuki for Tier 9. And the Kitakaze works really well as well. The Harugumo at Tier 10 is a completely different ship. And you really see it here if you compare the two. That thing is absolutely honking massive to start with, in order to fit that additional turret in there. If we are looking at the stats on this ship, and compare it to the Kitakaze, we notice first that, yes, after the recent buffs, all of these ships have finally received defensive AA, even though it's just a Def AA 1. But the Harugumo gets an extra engine boost and an extra smoke screen, and she can actually fit the legendary module. We'll look into that later. Other than that, she gets a couple more hit points, which is very, very desperately needed. And she is also, again, not quite as fast or as maneuverable. And the Kitakaze was already not the greatest ship out there in terms of maneuverability. The guns, like mentioned, the Harugumo gets an extra gun. So she now has 5 twin Type 98 dual-purpose guns, and she gets better range and just a very slight buff on the damage. But these are 100mm guns, so a relatively low caliber. Most of the time you'll just be firing HE, not doing an awful lot with the guns themselves, but it's more about setting fires and similar things. The torpedoes, again, are just like a neat little nudge towards making them a little better. The same sextuple launcher, just one of them, and they do a little bit more damage and have a bit more range, but that's about it. They're good torpedoes, don't get me wrong, but nothing spectacularly different from previous designs. The AA, same story here, is better. And while she's not, she's no Halland, definitely with the defensive AA can do a little bit now in terms of dealing with incoming aircraft. The concealment, again, is noticeably worse, and we are smack dab in light cruiser territory with this. So what have we ended up then here on the line with? Well, the Kitakaze still kind of worked to a degree as a flexible destroyer. The Harugumo is not. The Harugumo is more like the Elbing, really. It's a scout cruiser, and really needs to be played as such, because the ship is so massive for a destroyer in comparison, and that things like Colombos can really just blow you out of the water, and you don't have necessarily the maneuverability to do any kind of active role, which for me actually makes this ship somewhat less interesting and harder to play. So it's more specialized, it's more specific, let's put it that way. Anyway, how have I set this thing up? you get two choices. You get either better torpedoes, which, you're on a gunboat. Yes, you could. But I think max speed and acceleration are something that you're much better off with, because 35 knots is not the greatest. And while you do have an extra engine boost, it's still, if the engine boost not running, you're a relatively large, relatively slow target for some really, really nasty things out there. The setup, I'm still running with the concealment build, and as you probably should, and obviously the main battery mod 2 for faster gun reloads. You could sort of go with a faster torpedo reload if you were so inclined, but this is not a torpedo boat. It's not a stealth boat. You're not going to outspot anything in this ship, and you don't also really have the gunfire power against destroyers that easily to do things like contesting capture circles. That's not what the ship is for. Now, the legendary module here is kind of an interesting one. You're trading the propulsion mod, what you would normally use, which gives you 20% acceleration, for something that gives you 8% acceleration, so less than half of that, but at the same time also gives you an extra 8% max traverse speed, so effectively your rudder can shift further. So it's going to take you a little longer to actually get the rudder all the way, but if you get it all the way, you're actually having a tighter circle. So that's something. And you get the main battery and torpedo tube traverse speed, which honestly, not sure I need. So the main batteries have, I'm not sure what the base value is. Let's have a quick look in comparison. We should see it there. And we have, was it 18? Yeah, we've got an 18 degrees per second base value. That's fine. You don't need to buff that. So this is one of those legendary modules where I think it doesn't have any downsides. So it's not making anything worse. Some of the legendary modules give you a good buff, but at a cost. This doesn't come at a cost unless you are you're effectively trading acceleration for max traverse. And well, that's okay. It's sort of, I don't really feel the significant value of this module. So if you've got other legendary modules, what I'm trying to say, if you've got other legendary modules that you're saving up for, then maybe this is not one of them that is really a must-have, in my personal opinion. You could as well just stick the propulsion modification 1 in there and call it a day. Now, you could argue that you might want to go for rudder shift in the third slot, and you would not be wrong, because the rudder shift on these things is bad. But it's still a destroyer, and especially for early positioning, this is one of those cases where I'm feeling the concealment to be really helping. Again, the use of this ship is restricted at this point. Much more so than in the previous tiers, towards being a pure HE spammy gunboat and torpedo sending gunboat as well, because she then can put out 12 torpedoes, which are pretty hard hitting. I have again played 2 rounds with 2 different setups. Once the regular standard commander, and once with a legendary commander, and everything premium decked out historical camouflage, which we still need to look at, haven't forgotten. Just wanted to point out that the legendary commander, if you can get your hands on him, of choice for the ship probably is going to be Mikawa, because Mikawa, while having some good stats and everything, has the nitrate skill, which gives you an additional engine accelerator, an additional smoke, and an additional torpedo reload. So that skill, that single skill here, is the one thing. It would have been great or I would have gladly given up something like the Torpedo Alert Plus for a 6th Sense, but I think that'd be asking too much. But that single skill here is adding a lot of staying power to this ship, because you get an extra smoke and an extra engine boost. You can be more liberal with those, and you get an extra torpedo reload, so you can be also more liberal with sending your torpedoes out there. And in the end, you get the Giant Hunter Plus, which means your torpedoes do more damage, which is kind of nice. I have chosen the APCS because these are only 100mm guns, and that allows you in a pinch to do a little bit more damage against enemy destroyers. Otherwise, the AP on these ships really does lack the does lack the firepower. It's not making a huge difference, to be honest, and I don't think it makes much of a difference whichever you take. You may as well just take the HE and take the hit on damage, and in return hope that you're going to be setting a fire. But if you're finding yourself fighting destroyers in this thing, then things have gone wrong in different ways already anyway. So, last things last, let's look at the camouflage. Historical camo gives main battery range, torpedo range, traverse speed, and surface detection. All good things to have. So with a legendary module and the historical camouflage, we get a max traverse of 8 degrees per second compared to a Kitakaze 7.4. So that's not bad. But also we've got a 5-second turn time, which is Minotaur levels. So, yes, you are in a scout cruiser. You're not in a destroyer anymore at this stage. And the concealment we got down to 6.3 kilometers, which is decent for a scout cruiser. But, yeah, for a destroyer is not glorious. So don't try to outspot things in this ship. All right, let's get into some games. Again, like I said, 2 battles, 1 regular, 1 fully decked out. The first battle is almost flat out tier 10. We are on an epicenter map, and we are facing an FDR, and I have no idea what that thing's capable of, but it's American, so it's going to be nasty. Republik, Yamato, Iowa, a Colbert, Shimakaze, and a Z-46. See, this is sort of where my problem starts, because while on paper the idea of having an HE spamming scout cruiser is quite nice, in practice, you need to be in a situation where you can actually abuse it. And this is not a terrible situation for that to be. Hello, Mr. Gearing, or Mrs. Gearing in this case. Let's get ourselves... I might give you some AA cover. I mean, together we might be able to do something against the incoming carrier. So let's go for the center cup. I've got 3 smoke screens. I've got some AA. And we've got 2 relatively nasty enemy destroyers that we need to deal with. And that's what I mean, right? What you would like to do in this ship would be to sit behind an island, lob shells over it, and just burn down enemy battleships. Can you do this? Yes, absolutely. But then you're not doing all the other things that your team might need you to do, like, you know, taking the central capture area, because there comes the Shimakaze. Hello, Mr. Shimakaze. High explosive without the APCS is what you want to do. So the enemy destroyers are going for the center cap. So we're going to have our work cut out for us here. But we've got 2 smoke destroyers with defensive AA, so we should be able to at least have some defense against the enemy carriers. And obviously there are going to be torpedoes. Yep, there they come. There are the torpedoes. Gearing should not have too much trouble avoiding these, but I definitely would like to try not to take a Shimakaze torpedo. And you're not in the most maneuverable ship out there. Okay, Gearing smoked up. There come the Z-46 torpedoes. So torpedo beats active, just making sure that we are taking that central capture area. Fortunately, he's left a convenient Harugumo-sized gap in the middle. And now we're starting to open up on that thing. And obviously, given that the Gearing smoked up, I'm being the one being shot at. Okay, Yamato is at the edge of my torpedo range, but I'm going to drop some sneaky torpedoes in his general direction, just in case he hasn't been paying attention. And then I'm going to smoke up as well and see if we can... We are holding the central cap area, but only because I'm in here. Because there's 2 of us and only 1 Z-46, because the Shimakaze has already taken a lot of damage. German destroyer is not something you want to take on in this thing, surprisingly, actually. Because they can absolutely make mincemeat out of you, despite the quite hilarious amount of firepower. There come some enemy planes. Fortunately, the carrier seems relatively uninterested in us, and the Z-46 is now on such low hit points that we should be able to finish him off without too much trouble. 1 more hit should do it. And... well, the midway takes him out. Okay, well done. That leaves the Shimakaze, who is now sailing around the other side. But, oop, there's a Republik. Ow, yes. Fortunately, he had the armor piercing loaded. So, now that we've got the center cup secured, and we've been perma-spotted due to the sheer amount of planes flying around here, I think it's time to vacate this spot and get to what we actually want to do and see if we can make ourselves useful. So engine boost up, and let's get the heck out of here before these guys land hits, because that was a Colbert over there. But you see already how tight this is. We're only 1 kill ahead, and only because we are holding the central cup. And there comes the Colbert to spoil the party. So smoking up, because Colbert... setting Colberts on fire feels like justice, to be honest, but at the same time, this is also not something that you trifle... Yeah, not something you trifle with. Because one of the problems when you're sitting in a smokescreen in this thing is that your rate of fire is so high that any player worth their salt can just blind fire you in your smoke. So the smokes aren't quite as useful as you think they might be. And while I would... Ow! Fortunately, Iowa has been paying attention as well. Where's he going? Okay, you are accelerating. I'm not going to go unspotted because of all those planes up here. And Colbert is still shooting at me. Next salvo from the Iowa is going to kill me, but Iowa is going forward, so I'm leading the torpedoes and then getting the heck out of here. If I still can, because the next salvo from the Iowa might have loaded the high explosive, is going to kill me. And there it comes. Yep, that's Iowa high explosive. Whoops. Run away. Bob and weave. Okay, we made it. We're undetected. We're still somehow still alive, but haven't really done any Harugumo things yet. As in, oh no, well that works. That I can work with. Sending a couple of torpedoes into the general direction of all that mess has somewhat compensated for the problem. So now there's Colbert, Roosevelt. I would love to farm damage on the FDR and just, unload at that thing. Unfortunately, there's a Colbert. And Colbert is, there. Colbert has shown so far, there he comes again, a nasty tendency of trying to kill me. I don't know what he doesn't like about me. I mean... For obvious reasons, he is trying to kill me, so I'm already backing out of my smoke screen because he's also shown some skill in blind firing, which is not that hard against the Harugumo because of the sheer rate of fire. You just have to follow the tracers back and nuke it out of its smoke screen. So now I'm undetected because islands, and now I am trying to return the favor and blind fire the Colbert, who doesn't have a smoke screen, but who is sitting behind an island, and I don't know exactly where he is or where he's going. I can use the minimap to some degree to know how he's oriented, but I also have to find angles where I can lob the shells across this island ledge there, and he's not holding still. He's not making that easy, but he's now in a bit of a pickle because he's on low hit points, and I think the carrier may have something to say about this. Fortunately, the FDR shows no interest whatsoever in trying to get me killed, but seems to be rather flying around. I don't know, is he trying to kill the gearing? Maybe. Not sure what he's trying to do there, but that Colbert is on low hit points, and as long as I can... Nope, I'm spotted. Okay, no problem. Midway takes him out. Nicely done. So, now, can we finally get to doing Harugumo things and just, setting fires on things? Well, I would love to, but the enemy team's mostly died. I mean, there is a battleship left that I could farm, and there's still that FDR out there somewhere. And the gearing survived. Well done, gearing. We have managed to hold the central capture point for the whole match. There's the Iowa, and now I can finally... I'm out of everything. I'm out of heals. I'm almost out of consumables. I can finally start trying to farm some damage on the Iowa, if I can get myself into range, that is, and if the Iowa doesn't just die before that. But we're already at 925 points, and the Iowa looks about to be killed. So once the Iowa dies, that's the end of the game, which means there's no more damage for me to farm, which is a little bit unfortunate, but this is just something that you gotta get used to, that in most games, while you are meant to be an HE spamming, damage farming light scout cruiser, if you want to win the game, you actually have to play for the team, which means you can't play the ship to its strength if the situation doesn't allow it. I mean, I'm still happy with the game and how it turned out, especially that one torpedo salvo was pretty juicy. We got 8 out of 12, but don't always expect to be able to play to your strength. Especially not if you end up in a game like this. Essex, Somers, Z52, double Shima. And it's a domination battle, which means we are going to have to contest capture circles. I mean, we do have a fair amount of destroyers our own, but Somers and Z52. Somers is more of a stealth towboat, so it's not a huge threat. Z52, on the other hand, is not something I want to fight. Now, here I have the APCS skill. which means I am going to be using the armor piercing a little more against enemy destroyers. It's still sort of questionable. You might not be bad off just using high explosive and be done with it, to be fair. But I know that I can't engage a Z-52 in an outright gunfight, because he's going to win that. Because his guns literally just do twice or 3 times as much damage. Not 3 times, but more than twice as much damage as mine. And that's a battleship, so that's a bot, because we know that it's a bot. So I'm heading for A cup, and I'm planning to just contest A cup. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here and see if any enemy destroyers are showing themselves. So far, nothing inside A cup, so let's start unloading at the Iowa. We obviously spotted. And there's the Z-52. Okay, that's a bit of an issue. But I hold A cup now, and since he's alone here, he's not... Yep, you stay in there. Since he's alone in there, he's not going to be able to take it. Now, if the Iowa gets in there, that's a different story. So let's smoke up. Of course, this is a bot, so bots negate smoke screens. Yep, there it goes. But if you're lucky and the bot isn't aiming at you, sometimes you can get away with it. Okay, Z-52 is poking out. Is firing high explosive at me for some reason. Okay, that's promising. Keep your nose out there, buddy. Yeah, that's much appreciated. And fire high explosive at me and let me farm damage there. Okay, the bot is otherwise interested, which is really lucky, because that means I'm not spotted in my smoke. So let's drop some torpedoes on the bot, but the bot needs to die, because that thing, and he does the torpedo dance. Does he do the torpedo dance? He does the torpedo dance. Crap. Okay, that Iowa needs to die. Torpedo reload booster, kill the Iowa. Hope that he doesn't blab me in the side. And switch fire to Z-52. Z-52 has switched to the armor piercing, and this is exactly the situation that I don't want to be in, because A, there's going to be Z-52 torpedoes, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to out DPS that thing, especially if he's smoking up, which he can, and I have nothing to counter. So this is where you want to run away. And try to, as much as possible, disengage. Don't keep going. First of all, there's going to be torpedoes in the water. Second of all, you're never going to win a gunfight against a German destroyer in this thing, even with APCS. But my smoke's off cooldown, and thanks to the legendary commander, I've got smokes to spare. Shoots off one of my gun turrets. That's alright. I can live with that. But holding my fire right now, not to give it away. Z-52 is turning away, so I can shoot again. And that's how quickly you can lose your hit points against German destroyers. Yeah, you do not want to. I'm not going to stick around in the smoke screen. You might have dropped torpedoes, because I think I've only seen one spread, so there might be some more torpedoes in the water. Let's not hang around and just do some long range gunnery at the Z-52, trying to avoid some of the return fire by hectically maneuvering. And at this range, even with APCS, you're starting to bounce shells off enemy destroyers. So the APCS really is just good for emergencies when you are in a close range engagement and need to have maximum damage output against destroyers. But honestly, the AG is good enough that it really doesn't matter all that much. But by the looks of it, I haven't really been paying attention to what's been happening. By the looks of it, we are controlling 2 of the capture circles, and we have killed most of the enemy team. But our carrier is being chased by a destroyer, so I'm going to make myself useful as a scout cruiser and go after that Somers. Hello, Mr. Somers. Okay, carrier is sailing away, and obviously can start dropping nasty plane things on the Somers. Let's drop 1 torpedo spread, reload second. So the area denial torpedo. Somers switches targets to me, and much appreciated. Some smoke up. Somers is smoking, but is he fuel smoking or is he regular smoking? Is he just staying in his smoke screen? Doesn't look like it. It looks like he is going forward. It means he's gonna have to dodge torpedoes, and he might be taking 1 there. We'll see. Yep, he took 1. Actually, he took... What? How did he take 3 torpedoes? Okay, I'm gonna call shenanigans here. You did not deserve that. I mean, you lost anyway, but Somers definitely did not take 3 torpedoes there. Game, that's a bug. So, not my intent. These were meant as area denial torpedoes. So, yeah, not sure what happened there. But I think this gave you a bit of an idea of how things normally go with the Harugumo. There are obviously the occasional games that allow you to, you know, play more selfishly and just farm damage throughout the game, but not do anything for the team. The problem is, you know, not every game is like that. And more often than not, you find yourself in a game that doesn't allow you to do these things, because either you know, it's just destroyers out there, or it's a carrier game and it's an epicenter mode, and you just have to make yourself useful in other ways. You can still make yourself useful, just don't expect to be able to do the Smolensk style, I'm gonna sit at the back and just set everything on fire and laugh maniacally while watching an easy 100,000 damage tick up kind of gameplay. That's not always a given. It's nice when it happens, but most of the time it doesn't. And that's where the Harugumo is actually quite difficult to play as a tier 10 regular destroyer, because this is really not just something that she is good at. This is a role that doesn't really suit her well, and you'll be really hard pressed to make something happen. You can still make yourself useful, and you can still help your team win, but you can't even come out on top in a pure destroyer game. Again, that was due to the bug that got that poor Somers torpedoed, which he definitely didn't take. So anyway, yeah, that's the Harugumo. And while I'm enjoying it, I'm not quite enjoying it as much as the Kitakaze or the Akizuki, because it is very narrowly specialized due to the sheer size of that thing and to the switch from a destroyer to a scout cruiser role. So that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.